Hey, and welcome back to Game Talk. I'm your host, Eamon Meon. Today I'm joined by Connor
Hey guys.
and Mike.
I must kill chaos.
And that is a reference to E3 2021. It is now over and done with. Some real high highs and some real low lows for sure. And yeah, I think this is just going to be our episode recapping it. What did you guys think overall of E3 2021?
I thought it was good. I don't think there were any particularly low lows. Like, there were boring conferences, but there's not like...
Square Enix's conference was one of the worst
it was terrible,
seen.
but like, there wasn't like any moment where I was like, oh, this studio can do better. They're being wasted. Like, there wasn't really any of that. It was just like, oh, they're making a game I don't care about. Like, but there weren't any like, oh, we're making a Donkey Kong game, but this one can only be played by trying to use the Wii Fit balance board, and like, I don't know, it wasn't anything stupid where they're wasting a property, you know?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I don't think, like, there were boring parts for sure, but I don't think there were any games announced that I'm like mad about, which is something that I can't say every time.
That one Platinum game was kind of annoying. The Chaos one.
You guys are conflating two games. Because Mike was saying the same thing before we started recording. The Chaos thing is a Final Fantasy game by Ninja Theory, right?
Yeah.
Or they're working with Ninja Theory. The Platinum game you're thinking of was even worse and far more like generic.
Oh,
it was
you're
just, like,
right. I'm remembering now. Yes.
Or something.
Yeah, the Chaos thing was the Final Fantasy Origins thing, right?
Yeah. People are calling it like Final Fantasy USA 2. They're like mocking it brutally, and it looks terrible.
That was like the worst trailer of anything I've ever seen.
I think the worst part about it was that Square Enix pinned that as like their mega blockbuster reveal trailer.
Yeah.
That was supposed to get people hyped.
Yeah, and I guess as long as we're on the subject of Square Enix, I think their big, kick down the door first reveal thing was the Guardians of the Galaxy game. And that game, the longer it went on, the less impressed I was, I guess, let's say.
Yeah, me too. I think it's gonna sell well though, because like some of my friends that are less keyed in on stuff than I am, and like more willing to just play stuff, like more willing to play a game just because the writing's good, for instance.
Yeah,
they're like super hyped for it, and like I think that's fair. They got something Abbott. What was his name?
I'm not sure.
The comic writer who has written some of the best Guardians art.
Yeah. They got the actual writer, which is kind of cool.
And like I think the writing in that game's gonna be good, but I just look at
the gameplay though.
The combat looks dry.
They have time to improve it, right? But like what they showed of the gameplay was not promising.
Fundamentally, that's gameplay that was never gonna be fun to me. I hate it. Really is like just big HP bars and you wail on an enemy till it's dead. Like they were showing all the like tactical options you have, but I've seen these games before. I've seen it a million times. You have all these options and there's no reason to use any of them because they all do roughly the same amount of damage and the enemies are just big damage sponges. Yeah, so I don't know. I look at the combat and it kind of reminds me of like Ultimate Alliance. Like those games were okay. But nobody sat down and was like, oh, this is, this gameplay. Like every time I sit down and see gameplay, like that sort of gameplay, I just feel boredom creeping up. Like,
yeah.
I thought that those games died on the GameCube and they really should have.
And not only was the gameplay like kind of boring, it was like not performing well either. Like it looked very stuttery. I remember,
I didn't even notice that.
But like, yeah, so like Guardians was their big thing that they spent a lot of time on, and then they showed that Final Fantasy nonsense, and then they showed that weird. Was the Platinum game part of this presentation as well?
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, that was. So when you think Platinum games, you think of high octane action, really tight combat. This was like none of that, which is very weird. This is definitely not a Platinum Games game. And, that be excusable if it looked good, but it did not look good at all.
No, it looked extremely... I hate to... There used to be a place for this in gaming, but there's really not a place for a generic fantasy anymore, And that's exactly
that's just been done to death so much. Like, you gotta have something... You gotta have a flavor.
I want to say it was Polygon who said it. I was watching them talk about it a little bit, and I think they said that it looked like a game that somebody would be playing in the background of a Law and Order episode.
Oh God, yeah,
And yeah, it absolutely did.
yeah. I mean, and I don't know. I think Square Enix was probably one of the weakest, if not the weakest, presentations of the entire show. Like, there were so many big absences. Like, where was Final Fantasy 16? Like, supposedly that's
Where
coming
was
out
Dragon
next
Quest?
year.
You know, even
Yeah.
just like a lot of people didn't watch the Dragon Quest event, so it would have been cool for them to like name drop Dragon Quest, even if they were just going to show the exact same trailer again. A lot of people haven't
Right.
seen that yet.
And just as I predicted, they did spend time on Avengers.
Yeah,
So,
which was so stupid, so
Yeah.
tone deaf. That
They're
game is
they're
done.
really trying to keep that Avengers property alive.
I mean, they've got that whole Black Panther campaign or whatever coming out, and I guess it looks neat, but like, does
The music
anyone
is
care
good.
about the game anymore? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
they're
I mean,
certainly
nobody-
trying.
yeah.
I mean, hopefully they succeed for their employees' sake, but that's not
Yeah.
a very fun game.
Yeah, I feel
Uh,
like there was another games as a service game announced during that conference, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, the Square Enix one.
I
Yeah,
think the Platinum one was a games as a service type deal.
it
Was
might
it?
have been. I don't really remember.
No,
But-
it really is hard to remember that because of like the decent other conferences that day.
Yeah, I think I texted you guys afterwards. I was like, "Yep, that's like a 2 out of 10 conference." Like, I felt like I just wasted my time watching that. Which you
I
never
feel
wanna
hard saying
feel
it was
like
one of the
after an
worst
E3.
It wasn't one of the worst though, because like I didn't even watch Capcom, and
I didn't watch Capcom
I
or
hear it was
Ubisoft.
bad.
I just sort of
oh,
tuned
Ubisoft
in.
was actually pretty fun. I'll talk about it for a second. And
Yeah, so Mario plus Rabbids got announced there, right?
yeah, but before I do that, I wanted to roast. There were a couple people who streamed like a literal press conference, like a literal like it was them just talking about like diversity. I think it was 2K just talked about like diversity talking points the whole time and didn't even name drop any games. They just talked about like corporate initiatives and stuff.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind of weird. And
I-
that kind of makes me Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I don't know how to feel about that. Like, this is E3, not a corporate
Yeah.
boardroom.
So no,
Dude,
the
no,
thing is
that-
from what I was reading, that all happens at E3. It just isn't the part that's televised. Like that's all
Right.
normal E3
A lot of
stuff.
stuff happens at E3 behind the scenes, but like this tells me that like maybe since this was a completely online event, like maybe some of the people that were presenting didn't get the memo and just did their normal thing where they should have made
Yeah.
it explicitly clear like the streamed events are like the big showcase.
It was
thing.
explicitly clear, Ahmed. Let's not mince words.
Yeah.
If they did this, they're idiots. But like, 'cause it was
just
very clear to everyone.
quick aside, E3 2022 has already been confirmed as an in-person event, so we'll see how that pans out.
Boring.
Sort of. Oh my god, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I like E3 with the chaos of
Yes.
Of
This is the first
in-person
time I haven't like
presenting.
just zoned out as soon as they start talking about Forza. So
Yeah, so yeah, I guess that's a good transition. Microsoft had a pretty strong showing this time around.
Microsoft is in competition for best, in my opinion.
Yeah,
For
it's
best.
it's between Microsoft and Nintendo in my mind, and I don't think anything else really comes close.
No,
but-
Devolver's right up there with them. I don't know if you guys watched the Devolver.
I actually
show, but
missed
it was-
Devolver.
Devolver was incredible. They have a lot of really good games in the pipeline. It's all indie stuff though, so it really doesn't. It can't compete, sorta. You know, like you're
Yeah,
not
different
seeing
space,
these
sort of.
franchises you love getting cool new stuff. It's all new games, but they had some cool stuff. Like they had a game called Wizard with a Gun, and I think that was the standout. And it's like an isometric kind of Don't Starve looking game. That's
Yeah.
just wizards in the Wild West with guns, and it looks so stupidly fun. I just love. I mean, Devolver can't go wrong.
And plus, Devolver always has that like gung ho presentation style too. Like I'm assuming they did the same thing with
They
like
did,
that.
yeah. Oh, it was
hilarious
so
lady.
stupid. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
just making fun of monetization and stuff. They were yeah. It was like they were talking about. They were basically making fun of Game Pass. I think they were saying like
Oh really?
you had to pay for even the privilege of being able to buy their games. Like you had to join their service to be able to buy their games. I don't know. It was stupid.
I don't. Yeah,
but-
that's not how Game Pass works. But
No, it's not. No,
Shows-
that's exactly it. They were mocking.
Yeah.
It. Like you know, I
No,
like
but-
them. I think. It's
but
always
yeah,
fun.
just I guess touching on Microsoft really quick, it bears mentioning that there are like quote unquote E3 awards, and I don't know who judges or whatever, but There were a bunch of different categories, but I think the two that are most important, best press conference, Microsoft won that, and best and most anticipated game that was shown at the show was Forza Horizon 5.
So I agree that Microsoft kind of deserves best show because they really were. They were just game,
Yeah.
like, back to back to back for like however long it was.
90
It felt
minutes,
like forever. Like
Yeah.
it was just game.
Yeah, the more I
Game
think
Pass
about
Day
it,
One,
the
Xbox
more I think
exclusive.
about it, I think the more I'll have to give Microsoft the point over Nintendo here. Because Nintendo, while they had higher highs for me personally, like they were only 40 minutes long. So like, half as long as Microsoft's conference. And like the first half of their conference was just kind of meh.
And
So-
it was also like over half ports, like
Yeah.
which is okay, but
Yeah,
no, the Microsoft conference. I mean, Psychonauts 2, banger. Halo Infinite, banger. Forza
Starfield.
5, don't really care, banger. Yeah, Battlefield. What was it?
Starfield? I said
Starfield.
yeah.
Starfield looks fine. Battlefield they showed at their conference looks good.
Yeah, so so just talking about Starfield, right? I think that was an in-engine trailer, right? That wasn't CGI, which is pretty impressive. Like it looked very good. Still no idea. What
It looked
really
good, but
plays
not so
like.
good that it couldn't be an engine.
Yeah, no idea what it plays like. No idea about the gameplay, but I'm sure it'll play like Skyrim in space, like how Todd Howard is saying. But
so I have some hopes for Starfield if they want to make. If Starfield is
I'm
going to be a
excited
game
for it, dude. I really am.
if Starfield is going to be a game that appeals to me, I think it kind of fits in with what Bethesda's capable of. I need because the trailer showed a barren planet, and that is my just as somebody who likes space a lot. That's like my biggest beef in a game like No Man's Sky is that they're cowards. They're too afraid to give you a boring planet, and most planets in the universe are just rocks floating around in space. And I think based on this trailer, just maybe they're not going to be cowards about it. And like if they just have a bunch of procedurally generated rocks and like that's where you build your colonies and stuff because they've talked about this being a colony building game, I'm super into that. And then you go down to the habited planets that are actually like have that Bethesda touch. That's everything's actually like super cool on them.
Yeah, I think
story.
colony building is just like a feature, right? Not like the core.
I don't know. Some of the
gameplay
stuff I
mechanic.
was hearing about was that colony building was more core to this game. It's
Yeah,
still
I don't
just
know,
a
like-
feature, but it's more of a feature than it's been in the past.
I've heard all sorts of things about this game. Todd Howard also came out and said this is quote unquote a Han Solo simulator, which sounds very appealing to me. So
See, that sounds stupid to me, but
really? No, that sounds incredible. Like you're a rogue going through space and like shady organizations and underhanded deals and whatnot.
just a lot of
I
shipping.
think we're forgetting the major point about Todd Howard.
That he's a liar.
Yeah, that he's a liar, and if he says anything about the game, it's probably not true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic for Starfield because I loved Skyrim in 2011. I don't think I'd love it in 2021, but like I'm hopeful that, Bethesda modernizes their systems for this game. It's about time they did, right? Like we thought they'd do it for Fallout 4 and that was essentially Fallout 3.5.
This is in creation too, right? This is a new engine.
I think so, yeah.
No,
So I
it
think-
said in the corner that it's creation too. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I'm hopeful for Starfield. It's got a November 22 release date, which again, I think a lot of our predictions were spot on, right? Like I think we said something like Bethesda's not ready to show Starfield, but Microsoft's going to make them do it, and it'll have a late next year release date, and that was
I think
pretty
I
much
said
verbatim.
2023 for it actually, but
Yeah, I think I was the main purport between 2022, but it's releasing 11 years after Skyrim released to the dot.
That is insane to think. Wow, yeah. I mean, Bethesda games come out once in a blue moon, but when they do, they shake things up. Bethesda has so much power in the mainstream, just anecdotally speaking. Like one of my friends I would describe as a casual gamer, right? Like doesn't really pay attention to the industry like we do. Texted me, he was like, "Hey, did you hear about Starfield? Like this game looks incredible. Like I think this game is going to be massive when it comes out, and not necessarily to maybe enthusiasts like us, but to like the broader gaming audience." I don't
you know
know.
what my problem with that is though? Like, if you haven't been following Starfield, like say that trailer's all you've seen, what looks great about it? Like, all
it
that
just
trailer
has this aura
it's just
about
a
it,
ship
man.
taking off.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I guess
get-
it's
I get
just
why
the
you and me are-
presentation.
like the
Yeah.
three of us are excited for Starfield because like we know about it, we know about Bethesda, we know what it's going to be in general.
I mean, I think people know Bethesda as the people who made Skyrim, right? And this is
Yes,
their
yeah.
next big game, and people are excited for that. Yeah.
I just hadn't thought of that trailer in a vacuum before just now, and I realized like there's nothing. Like
Yeah.
it's basically just this game exists.
It's a very stylish trailer, but
Yeah, no, it was.
it gives
No,
me
I-
like Interstellar vibes, you know, Christopher Nolan's Interstellar.
I think my favorite part about that trailer coming out is that all the Elder Scrolls fans are really, really salty right now
Why? Because it's not Elder Scrolls.
because it's not Elder Scrolls.
But
There,
we knew that. We've known that forever. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
we've known Elder Scrolls is at least 6 years out, and a lot of them
I
are
don't know if it'll
salty
be
at
6 years out
Arcane.
with Microsoft's money behind them, but
Yeah, true. I think people are salty at Arcane too because of what was it, Redfall?
Redfall
yeah.
looks so.
I saw
good.
some hot takes that people were
Yeah,
blaming
this is-
Redfall for not having a new Elder Scrolls.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
It
But
doesn't
terrible.
make
let's just
any
move on
sense.
to Redfall really quick. That was another big exclusive that Microsoft showed. And it looks like kind of like a fantastical Left 4 Dead style game, right? That's kind of what it
Yeah.
seemed like to me. And which is crazy for Arcane. That's definitely like
Yeah, I
outside
think
of the
it'll
realm
be
of what
more
they do.
systemic than Left 4 Dead. Like,
Yeah. I mean, we still have to see like,
vampires are a more systemic opponent than a zombie. You know, like vampires are killed by specific things and all. Like you're not going to be
Yeah.
shooting them in the head. You're going to be using a wooden stake or sunlight or garlic or holy water or whatever.
yeah, and I think that whole Redfall thing was all like a CGI trailer, which was kind of disappointing to me. Like I really wanted to see gameplay, especially from an Arcane game, but understandable. It's
Well, I
too
don't
far
think
out
it's-
and stuff like that.
Probably
Systemic games
early.
also aren't very fun to watch. Like,
I think it'd be
I-
really cool to see you know, like I'd be down to see like a demo of Dishonored or something like that, you know?
Can
I
we
guess,
talk
yeah.
about how we're getting not one but two Left 4 Dead inspired games?
yeah, I'm excited for Back 4 Blood. That comes
I am
out
too.
fairly soon, I think. And
Yeah, I mean
August.
that's straight up made by like the same people who made Left 4 Dead, right?
Yeah, and I
so-
don't even like Left 4 Dead that much, but this one has crossplay, so I'll probably be playing it a bit with my friends.
No, it'll certainly, yeah, like the more like co-op games the better. Like and bonus points if you're a couch co-op, like super into that.
Was it couch co-op?
I don't think so, but I'm just saying. Left,
I-
4 Dead was though.
I am surprised, or I'm not really surprised, that all Bethesda games from here on out are probably going to be Xbox exclusives.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, dude, I feel like that's old news. Like,
Yeah, no, you
Yeah.
guys were out of your mind thinking that.
Dude, I didn't
wasn't,
think that.
like-
Yeah,
I was 100% saying it was
kind of confident.
Yeah, it was only Mike. Let's set the record straight.
I
here.
was confident that Starfield wouldn't be an exclusive, but everything after Starfield probably would have.
My theory is that
Been an
everything
exclusive.
that was already because Psychonauts I thought was going to be exclusive. Psychonauts 2, which is
Yeah,
one of my
so
most hyped games.
That
I
was
knew
already
that.
announced as coming to PlayStation before the acquisition. So anything that was
Right.
announced or any
Yeah.
deals that were made before acquisitions are honored. So that's the way we need to think about this.
Yeah, that's how I've been thinking about it.
I will float the potential that there might be a port to another console in the future, but
So my other
it's
thing
highly unlikely.
that I'm worried about with Starfield is modability since they're tossing a new engine out here. Do you think Bethesda's going to focus on modability day one or because like the idea I don't want to roast Bethesda too hard. But the idea of them releasing a game that their fans can't fix is not good.
We've roasted them plenty hard in the past. So
It's Bethesda. Any of their single player games, I'm confident that Todd Howard's relationship with mods is good enough where he'll stick out modding tools within the first couple months.
yeah, I think modding is synonymous with those Bethesda game proper, right? Like
Yeah.
Fallout, Elder Scrolls, like yeah, and now
Yeah.
Starfield, right? Like Starfield's going to be like the third pillar of theirs, I think.
And they're probably going to bring Creation Club to it. And let's be honest, Creation Club is just paid mods, and it was a different name.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But yeah, no, like I think overall Xbox is looking very strong. A lot of good exclusives finally coming out, and I think it's about time too. Because if you were an Xbox fan during the Xbox One generation, it was a lot of waiting
It was a
and
rough time.
being told that the games are coming. The games are coming. Well, now the games are here. So,
No,
very cool.
no, they're not here
well,
yet.
not quite. They'll be here in 2022.
Next year,
Yeah.
they're coming.
Yeah. So
All
that,
of them are
that-
2020. Psychonauts is this year. The important one is this year.
Psychonauts is this year.
Psychonauts
Yeah, that was
and Halo Infinite are both this year.
that when I was initially deciding between like Nintendo and Microsoft for like the best of show, I gave points to Nintendo because they mostly showed games that were coming out in 2021, whereas nearly everything in Microsoft was 2022,
Yeah.
barring like Halo, obviously, and Psychonauts. But let's talk about Forza really quickly because it did win the game of the show.
Somehow.
Dude,
It looks good. It looks
those
really good.
graphics,
But
like,
it's still just a driving game. Like I don't get
I remember them saying they use photogrammetry on like
like
nature.
an insane amount. Yeah.
Like they just straight up like photographed some rocks and then put them in the game and stuff
No,
like that.
there were absolutely parts of that game that looked like a photograph. Like
No,
Yeah.
like what was the most impressive is that like they'd show you like a still, like a photograph of the landscape, but then the camera would pan and you'd see the car driving, like you'd realize, no, this isn't a photograph. This is just the camera paused on gameplay. Like it's just
yeah,
a
it's
marvel.
gonna look
but
that good on
behold.
the Series X. I bet. Like that was
Yeah,
probably PC
that
footage.
was. I thought that was Series X footage, but I could be
It
wrong.
might be. Yeah.
Like that was high quality footage, and
But
I think we've all been, well, us here have been sleeping on the Forza games because they've always looked really good.
They look great, but like I really just don't have any interest in cars or driving. So
I might buy Forza Horizon because I do like me a good driving game.
I'm probably
I mean-
gonna download. I downloaded Forza 4, played it for half an hour, and deleted it. Like I've played
Yeah.
them before.
I mean,
They're
and,
all on
you know,
Game Pass.
They're all on Game Pass, so it's worth checking out if you have Game Pass. But like, yeah, and not to disparage Forza in any way, it's just not for me, right? Like, I know Forza is like one of I think it's Xbox's biggest exclusive at this point, even bigger than Halo,
Yeah.
to be honest.
No, I saw somebody in the chat on the stream kept like saying that Forza was just a car ad, and like you'd have to be out of your mind to think Forza is a car ad. Forza is not for the people that could afford those cars.
yeah, I was gonna say like,
it's not
I
an
guess
ad.
after
like,
after playing Forza, I'm gonna be convinced to go out and buy a Ferrari. You know, like what?
Yeah, Forza's more of a power fantasy for those who can't afford a Ferrari.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like, well,
no,
I can't-
no,
I mean, I
Forza
guess
is
it's an
the
ad if
car
you're a
fans.
millionaire, but
Yeah, like Forza is to car fans like Dragon Ball Z is to me. Like you know, like it's
Yeah.
absolutely a power fantasy.
Yeah, like car
is
fans are
fine.
gonna play Forza just to like get the kind of experience of driving a car without having to spend the millions on the car.
No,
They
I
don't have
will
to spend
say
$60 on a game and then get the car in the game.
I love Forza trailers. Like the Forza, like the gameplay parts that they show. They're always so weird because it's always like these perfectly choreographed, like the person we're watching drives across the street and like they go in between like people driving like 90
Yeah.
miles an hour. Like there's no way you're gonna
Yeah.
crash into each other once you're doing that in multiplayer. Nobody's that good. Like these are literal professionals.
yeah. No, I mean the game looks great. Yeah,
Yeah.
It does look great. I do see why it won. I mean, I see an argument for why it won Best of Show, but like a game we're going to talk about here in a bit was definitely Best of Show for me. And even if they only showed like 30 seconds of it, but
Yeah.
yeah. So to wrap up Microsoft, I do want to talk about Halo really quick.
The multiplayer looks extremely good.
So
Like-
the initial trailer they showed for the multiplayer, I wasn't too impressed, but then I watched a bunch of like subsequent videos and then developer talks. Dude, it's just Halo 3 Part 2, and I am
That's exactly what
so
I've been hearing. Yeah.
in for that. Halo 3 multiplayer was like my favorite multiplayer game of all time. So
I do like that grapple hook though. That had some cool bits.
initially I was worried about that, now not so much.
Like I think
yeah.
did they show pulling people into melee range with the grappling hook?
yeah,
'Cause I
they
think
showed that.
They did.
That's so
They-
good.
they did
showed
get rid of,
they
like-
showed picking up weapons.
I think they got rid of like the dumb armor powers from like Halo 4
They
and
did,
5.
yeah.
I hated that so much.
Yeah, me too. It's really
So
bad.
I'm very glad that it's gone sort of more like to a streamlined approach, a big focus on the maps and the sandbox, and like I just can't wait. I think it's going to revive that Halo 3 energy I've been missing for so long.
What
I
I
did hear
really
they're
want-
also not giving a class system, so you drop in with all the same loadouts and have to pick this
Yes,
stuff off the map
absolutely.
again.
That's exactly
Which
what I
is-
want. Yes.
That's what made Halo Halo was the ability
Yeah.
to just go out there, grab a sniper rifle, and then now you have a power spike.
Yeah, it's interesting because like it was. I saw some weird arguments online. It's just like this is 343's apology to long-term Halo fans, but it's going to fail to pull in new people. But I'm just gonna be like, Hey, dude, Halo 3 was
It's
just
been
so
failing to bring in new
much
people.
good, and Halo 3 was the height of the franchise. So if it's going to go back to that era, then like I'm all for it. Like
Yeah, Halo's in a bad place right now. Like everybody who plays Halo is playing the Master Chief Collection. Like
Yeah.
yeah, no
And
one
that's
really cares
bad.
about 4 and 5.
everyone's looking
unfortunately.
backwards, and you don't want people looking backwards in your like flagship franchise. So Halo
Yeah.
Infinite has a strong opportunity to get people looking forward. I think
Yeah.
that's why they're doing the free to play multiplayer. That's
Yeah,
why
I
they're
think-
being so generous with the battle passes.
Yeah, I think
multiplayer
Halo
looked good.
the Halo Infinite multiplayer is going to be like them resetting their foundation back to like an iterative. It basically the spiritual successor to Halo 3, and then once they have that foundation in place, they can build from there and do more things they want to do. But it's important that their foundation is strong, and I don't think it was before, but it certainly will be after Infinite.
Yeah,
I
what
still-
a
now that
what a turn it's made from that trailer with Craig the Brute to
yeah.
that
Yeah,
E3
To be
showing.
fair, yeah, they didn't really show
I
too
didn't
much
think
of
that was that
actual.
bad. Like everybody wants to roast that trailer, and I just don't. Like,
Dude,
Craig
okay,
looked
so
bad.
here's why it was bad. This was like the first Series X showcase game, like, and it looked like an Xbox 360 game. Like that's why it was bad, right?
Yeah,
So, but it looks great now. So I'm excited.
my
I'm
beef is that
very.
I've never thought Halo looked that good.
I mean, Halo's not a looker. It's not compared to like something like Forza, obviously, but like
Yeah.
there's some standards, right?
Yeah, Halo Infinite's first trailer was it was like 6 months before the game was supposed to release, or something similar to that.
Yeah, that was.
So that
there's
was
no
the
way,
main
yeah.
concern.
Very interestingly, still no release date for Halo Infinite. You'd think we'd get
holiday
one.
2021.
Yeah. So, God help them if they delay again, honestly. But hopefully,
I don't
it
think
gets.
they will.
hopefully it
I
hits
think if
holiday.
anything, they delay the campaign again. I think the multiplayer is coming holiday no matter
Yeah,
Yeah.
multiplayer's coming regardless.
Yeah. And it's free to play too. That's huge, man. Like,
what. Dude,
I think
now that they own Bethesda, if they don't have the Praetor suit as an option to wear in the multiplayer, I'm gonna be kind of mad.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they will. Microsoft's smart about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
I just
yeah, I
want to play as the Doomslayer and everything.
I think those are the big highlights for Microsoft. Obviously, they showed a bunch of smaller games too, but like those were the big guns. And
They also showed Battlefield gameplay, and
Yeah, it looks
boy,
very
And the gameplay
good.
looked like kind of looked like people doing all the things you would have to do to film the CGI trailer. Like,
Dude, the Battlefield gameplay was so extreme, it kind of
Yeah.
made me laugh in a good way, right? I wasn't making fun of it. I was just like,
yeah, it looks quite
I
good.
just can't believe like this, like you're in a gunfight, like in a city, and then a tornado just comes and bulldozes everything. It's like,
and
what?
it's cartoonish. Yeah,
Yeah,
That is kind of the Battlefield feel, though, is just absolute chaos. You're in a gunfight, and all of a sudden a helicopter crashes in front of you, and you're just stunned.
another.
and they had
interesting-
somebody drive the Jeep off of a skyscraper to hit a
Yeah,
helicopter.
I've
Yeah,
seen
no,
that before.
No. I think what they did was like they drove out of a Jeep. No, they were in like a helicopter or something, and like or a plane, and jumped out, blew up a helicopter, and jumped back into the plane as they were
Yeah,
falling.
that
It
was
just
that was
like-
the trailer.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff people do in Battlefield. Like I've seen clips of people doing that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, people jumping out of a jet to RPG another jet and then get back in their jet. That's Battlefield.
definitely what an actual Battlefield is like.
Yeah, loading up a little quad bike with C4 and ramming it into the nearest vehicle and then making it explode. That's Battlefield.
Yeah, no,
Like-
and an interesting statistic, because I love these nerdy things. The Battlefield trailer, out of all the things shown at E3, was the most viewed trailer out of any game, including Forza, including Halo. Like everyone's hype for
Call
Battlefield.
of Duty killer.
That,
so-
that might kill Call of Duty.
maybe this
We haven't
year,
seen
yeah.
anything.
I hope it's on. I want it to be on EA Play because I want to play it, but it is going to be a $70 game, multiplayer only.
Yeah, that's, and I think I've said this before, but like, I really wish there was a campaign. If enough of my friends buy it and like I get enough FOMO, I'll probably buy it at launch. But at
Yeah,
this
I
point,
mean-
I'm kind of waiting and seeing. Yeah,
I'm at a point where $70 isn't going to kill me, but I'm still kind of hesitant.
Oh,
Well,
it's
it'll
only a
be
$60 game on Steam.
Yeah, exactly. It's $60 on Steam, which just
So-
goes to show you that the console games being $70 is kind of nonsense.
it is nonsense.
I don't think the console games are $70. No. Oh, it
Series-
is for Xbox.
Series X and
Why?
PS5. Yeah,
All Series
Why?
X and PS5 games, they're campaigning to raise it by $10 because they can.
No.
Gotta line corporate pockets.
Like 60 is perfect.
So, really quick, I think we covered Xbox, but like another one of the most viewed trailers, I think this was in the top 5, was that new like Avatar game by Ubisoft.
Yeah,
you
so I
guys
want to
see
talk
that?
Ubisoft's conference a bit because I
Yeah.
watched it. The Avatar game looks stupid and terrible. I'll say that.
Dude, that just I just have to say, like, there's such a weird love for that Avatar franchise, and we're talking about Blue People, James Cameron Avatar, just so everyone's
Yeah,
clear.
yeah.
okay?
If they were actually making a high budget Avatar: The Last Airbender game, I'd lose my mind.
I would pre-order the collector's edition yesterday.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
That one that's $400 and comes
I
with
would
a life
guess.
size
Absolutely.
Aang staff thing.
But no,
give me
they're
an Aang
making.
statue.
But dude, there's such a love for James Cameron's Avatar. I mean, it's
I
like the
don't
highest.
understand it. The movie's not that
It's,
great.
it's the highest
Yeah.
grossing movie of all time. It is. There's like all sorts of parks for it in Disney World. Like, and it's only one movie, right? Like, and it's
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
generated
there are like
so
5
much, you know?
planned sequels that haven't
Yeah.
released yet. I think 2 of them are done. Like,
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, I just don't. I mean, it's a pretty world, but like, is
I
it
don't
that
know how you
good?
could get 5 sequels out of a movie about a man.
a movie that didn't even have its own story to begin with. First
Yeah,
of all,
Yeah.
it's a movie about a man that's like, I like the aliens more. Let's not destroy the forests.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, the game will probably be. It's an Ubisoft open world game. Like, it's very easy to see how this formula fits.
Yeah, I think Pandora is the world it takes place on. Yeah, Pandora is a
Yeah.
pretty place. So, and pretty places translate well to video games. It's just, the game design has to be there too. So, we'll see.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not, if someone says like Avatar, like, and it's not, The Last Airbender, I don't really care. So,
But, yeah,
and that's
there
just
were
me personally.
there were 2 Ubisoft games that kind of stole the show for me. There was a snowboarding game. Looked extremely simple. Looked fun. That's all it was. Like, it was just snowboarding, do cool tricks while you're snowboarding.
Yeah.
That was like the whole thing.
Didn't Ubisoft also put out Steep back in the day, that skiing game?
yes.
So, that's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, no, they're
Very-
good at
very-
Ubisoft does good sports games. And the other one
Yeah.
that was also a sports game, it's the one that's like a I don't remember what it's called, but it's like Republic of something. And it's just a bunch of people that get together and do extreme sports. It looks like they're all living on a commune and they do a bunch of spray paint art and like
Yeah.
they just do extreme cycling and stuff and like skateboarding, and it just looks kind of fun to have all that stuff in one game. I don't know. It looks like goofy fun.
Yeah.
It might be something I get Ubisoft Plus for a month to check out.
Yeah.
I think I think another thing that bears mentioning from Ubisoft show is that they released or announced the new Mario plus Rabbids game.
Yeah, that game looks sick.
It does, actually. I mean, Mario has a gun.
Yeah, he has
He
2
does.
guns. They gave him
He has
2 guns.
Oh my god.
He's
Yeah.
he's going akimbo.
He's-
Rabid Rosalina, everybody's new waifu.
Yeah.
Man, it's weird that Ubisoft has turned the
It's weird.
Rabbids series into a crossover instead of
You know,
whatever it was
with how
before.
protective Nintendo is over Mario, they let Rabbids of all things intersect
Well,
with
rabbits are
Mario.
generally
You know,
inoffensive.
like
They're just kind of
Yeah,
goofy
it's just-
little.
derpy little things. Yeah.
The
but,
Rabbids are inoffensive unless you're a Rayman fan.
But I think Nintendo has a thing for like Rabbids/Minions because they're the same joke. Rabbids and Minions are the same thing, except Rabbids
Yeah.
are funnier. But
Yeah,
like,
Rabbids
they're
did
letting
it first.
Illumination, the guys who did Minions, that's who's making the Mario movie. I think whoever's
Yeah, I
in
mean-
charge at Nintendo just loves those goofy little
Sure. Yeah, I
Tic
guess.
Tacs.
So deep somewhere in the Nintendo offices, Miyamoto has a Minion statue somewhere in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
So
whatever.
speaking of Nintendo,
No, we're not done with Ubisoft yet.
Yeah, we're not done
okay,
yet.
okay, yeah. Go, I'm sorry.
There's also War Crime the game, Far Cry 6.
Far Cry
Oh,
6.
All
Far
the
Cry
discourse
6.
around Far Cry 6 is so annoying with Ubisoft's insistence, like, no, this game about Cuba
Yeah.
is not political at
like,
all.
People were like, people thought, it's an absolute role reversal of Far Cry 5, where people were like, oh wow, Ubisoft is actually like taking a political stance that like maybe people could get behind, and Ubisoft is no, we want to make
No.
bad takes, only bad takes.
What was
I mean,
it?
I'm not
What was it?
gonna be a Fidel Castro stan, but they're taking a very, very complicated situation and just really dumbing it down to
Was it-
nothing. It's
Was
a really
was it
bad
like-
idea.
It's just
Wasn't it
set
like-
dressing for an action game. You know, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, it's
Wasn't
just
it-
that dressing for an action game is you kill a bunch of poor people.
Wasn't it last year when they released a trailer for like a new Tom Clancy mobile game or something, and they used the fish symbol as the evil, the evil people?
Yes, they did. Yeah. Oh my god.
Like,
and then of course there's a new Rainbow Six game that got announced.
that actually looks cool.
it looks all right. Yeah,
It's been
another-
it's been
The zombie
announced for a
one?
while,
yeah.
but they finally changed the name because it used to be called Quarantine, and then they realized that
Right.
we've been in quarantine
In
for the
bad
past
taste
2
now.
years or a year or however long it's been.
yeah, and it's
So we
been
got to change the name.
going on a year and a half. Yeah. Although quarantine's basically over where I am. I don't know about you, Ahmed, but I got
I mean,
vaccinated
things
back
things are
whatever
getting
it was.
back to normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to be fully vaxxed, so it's pretty much over for me.
It still does. Like anytime I watch it or play a game or watch a piece of media where they try to like depict what a plague scenario would be like, and it's just like, nah, that's not what it was like.
I mean, it was just a lot of staying inside and doing nothing. So
Yeah, and
Yeah.
being mad at people who didn't do that.
yeah.
Anyway, which conference did you want to move over to, Ahmed?
I was thinking Nintendo.
Let's talk Devolver for like 30 seconds first.
Okay,
because,
sure.
I just don't want to forget, and
No,
there's
go
not
ahead,
a lot
yeah.
to say. Devolver, they did their normal shtick. The real standout was Wizards with Guns. I remember seeing a couple other games that I was interested in, but like every year with Devolver, they don't have staying power, and like they're competing with all these other extremely hyped franchises and stuff. So I immediately forget everything I saw until it gets
You can't go wrong when a game's title is Wizard with Gun.
Exactly. Like Devolver just knocks. Devolver can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. I don't think I've ever played a Devolver game I didn't like. Even ones that aren't in genres I typically like. If it's Devolver, I'm gonna love it. So
I feel
Yeah.
like we also need to talk about the E3 Jeff Keighley's E3 competitor.
We'll get to that. I'm saving that for the end. we'll get to that. But really quick, I just wanted to mention another exclusive from Microsoft that I forgot. Now remembering now, Age of Empires 4. That's a pretty big deal too.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I think-
I'm so
yeah.
excited.
that's a Mike game.
That's a me
Yeah.
game.
That's a tentatively Amid game too.
I
I'm
have
big-
played
yeah.
all 3 Age of Empires, mostly to death.
I might jump
And,
on this one at launch since that there'll be some groundswell and it'll be on Game Pass. Is it
I'm
coming to
excited for
consoles?
4. I think
Oh,
so.
I think so.
Why
Don't
wouldn't
play
it
it
be?
on console. Don't play it on console.
Yeah,
This
just
is
don't
a-
play it on console.
No,
This
of
is a
course not.
PC
I'm
game.
not gonna have
Yeah.
I'm not gonna buy an Xbox, but there's no
I'm
reason
telling-
to now. I was actually on the edge of buying an Xbox for a bit, but after this E3, it's become abundantly clear that there is no reason for a PC gamer to have
Yeah,
an Xbox.
no.
Yeah.
It's everything that comes to Xbox
I-
is coming to PC.
I kind of saw that coming at the beginning of the generation because I've been
I
quoted
was still
saying
hesitant because I kind of thought that last gen a little bit with like because it started with like Near Automata and stuff, but it's really hard to because I think Sony's going to start doing it too. You'd be hard.
Sony's
think
going to
so
give
too.
you like a 2-year gap.
Yeah.
according to what I've been
I,
seeing.
I think so. Yeah, I think just quickly talking about Sony. Yes, they've already announced that several more games are coming to PC, including Uncharted 4.
No
which is-
way.
Yes, they said that. And I think this all leads to eventually. We're not going to get this with every game, but I do think eventually some first-party PlayStation games will come out day and date on PC. I think
that's
we're getting.
absolutely putting me in a position to never buy a console again.
We're
'Cause
getting
at that
we're
point-
getting to that point. I do think certain PlayStation games will be exclusive just because that's the way Sony rolls. But like, if they're putting Uncharted 4 on PC, I think anything goes.
Yeah, so I want to do an episode on this probably later, but like at that point, the cost of value analysis, it's what $400 at the cheapest to buy a PS5
Yeah.
and $400 at the cheapest to buy a Series S, right?
Series S is 300, I think.
300. So still $700 in a non-silicon shortage world. You can get an okay PC for that. Like, and you're just gonna get all the games.
If we're talking in an ideal world where all of their games come, especially I know Microsoft will, but if all of PlayStation's games come to PC day one, then it's basically over at that point. There's no reason to have a console at all.
Yeah, not on either side. Yeah, but
Which
anyway,
is why I don't think it'll ever happen with PlayStation. But
God,
we'll-
I hope
we'll
it does.
see.
That would be so incredible.
I think we'll reserve this for another podcast, but I have a lot of thoughts about the console the current state of consoles.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll reserve this for another episode.
Yeah,
Sure.
once we get a little deeper into the gen, and I think we're kind of there now that Ratchet and Clank is out. But yeah.
I mean, yeah, perspective though, it has not even been a single year since these consoles launched. So
yeah,
it's important to
yeah.
keep
I mean,
in mind.
there's nothing on a Series X. There's no reason to buy one of those things.
I mean, no
Yeah.
one owns a Series X or PS5 on at the moment.
Except Damon.
Yeah.
You got the only
I mean,
one.
I know some people with PS5s, but
I don't know.
Emmett-
You're the
Emmett
only
had to
person I
fight
know that has a
someone for that
PS5.
PS5.
I've never seen one.
yeah. I mean, they are disgustingly rare, to be fair.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anyway,
speaking of-
Nintendo's conference opens up with a Smash reveal that was pretty lukewarm to me.
yeah, I know. I mean, Tekken's a huge fighting game franchise, so I'm happy for the fans of Tekken, but like personally,
I
Kiryu,
think
right?
fighting
Kiryu?
game characters are the most boring thing to add to Smash, and that kind of sucks.
It kind of
Second
feels
most boring.
almost like an obligation, right? Like it's like this is the, like the cornucopia of all gaming, including fighting. And I think fighting games get a special place in that, right? Because of what they are.
I also
Because
think
that's
they're
what
like
Smash is.
they're adding a lot of them now because there weren't any before. Like fighting games had a serious lack of representation in Smash before 4 and Ultimate.
Yeah.
So they're having to add them all in now to like kind of balance it out a little
Well,
bit.
4 had Ryu, but that was it.
Yeah. And now they've added Ken, they've added
Harry.
Yeah. So it's a lot. But I think he looks like he plays fun. The trailer itself was hilarious.
The trailers are always great, even for characters I don't care about. Those
will
trailers
say
are
that this is-
masterpieces.
Probably the fastest I've been like, oh, this is a Smash trailer. Because I've really like I can
Dude, I will
spot
tell
that
you-
art style in a
Yeah.
nanosecond.
Dude,
Yeah.
I it's funny. I initially was like, okay, this is Smash. But then when I saw Ganondorf, I was like, oh my god, is this Zelda somehow? And then it was Smash again. But like,
Yeah,
he did get
Ocarina
me.
of
He did
Time.
get me for a little bit. Yeah, he did.
I did like the whole it's very Tekken for someone to get thrown into a
Volcano.
volcano,
Yeah.
and he just kept doing it.
It was a funny bit. Yeah.
And
Like, most of the
everybody knew that
Smash
Kirby
cast-
was gonna fly away at the end, but I still like had to sit
was
there and
good.
watch it happen
Yeah.
because it was just adorable.
it was
Yeah.
very good.
And then we hit some lows for Nintendo. Life
Yeah,
is
and
Strange coming to it. That's a
I
good
do
thing.
think I do think maybe it was smart because I jokingly said maybe Nintendo's getting all the bad stuff out of the way first, and I think that's what they were doing. Honestly, they got
kinda
all.
did, yeah. I mean, Life
they-
is Strange isn't bad. Life is Strange.
We already
The
saw
overlap
it.
between people that have a Switch and people that are going to love Life is Strange is massive. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's just annoying when you already see something earlier at E3 and it shows up again. Like you
yeah,
want.
I
we
think-
saw Rabbids again, but the absolute showstopper for me. I don't know about you guys, but when I
Metroid.
saw Metroid 5 come up on the screen, I like jumped out of my seat. I was
Yeah, this
so
this
excited.
one's huge. This one is earth-shatteringly huge, and
Yeah, so
I
I was-
definitely gotta
Metroid
I gotta
Dread-
play the series. I gotta.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, I would start with Super, the first one, or start with Zero Mission. Zero Mission is a good place to start if you're willing to play a Game Boy Advance game. The first Metroid is real rough around the edges. I think pretty much. I mean, to play this Metroid, you need to play Metroid Zero Mission, Super Metroid.
It's funny because like I play Metroidvania games all the time, which are games inspired by Castlevania and Metroid. Yet
Yeah.
I have never played either of those franchises. I do have a
See-
great respect for them because I know what they are and how much influence they had, but I've never actually experienced those games.
My hot take is that the only two Metroidvania games that actually like make good on all the promises of a Metroidvania are Super Metroid and Hollow Knight. Like,
Yeah.
every other game in the genre, I still like the genre and they're still good games, but like those two are so high above anything else. So I implore you to play Super Metroid. If you have your 3DS laying around,
I mean, it's on
Samus
the Switch, right? The Switch virtual console.
yeah, Super Metroid, yeah. But if you have your 3DS laying around, Samus Returns is probably the way you'll want to play Metroid 2 if you decide to play it. It's
Okay.
pretty good, and it's by the same developers, so it'll kind of give you a feel for how this new one's going to be.
Yeah, I'm sure as we get closer to the release of Metroid Dread, by the way, that's
Yeah.
what it's called.
Metroid Dread.
I'll pick up a couple Metroid games and play through them.
And it looks like
think-
Metroid Dread is seriously... So a lot of people might already know this. Metroid Dread was actually announced in like 2005 or something.
Yeah, the rumor's been around for a while.
And it got canceled several times because they just... I guess, yeah, they did a developer interview because everybody knew about this game and they was just like, yeah, we couldn't get the tech right or something. And
Yeah.
I didn't know about it. So this game has been around since I was too young to be keeping track, basically. I guess there was a big teaser in Metroid Prime 3, but I
Yeah,
loved
so
Metroid Fusion as a kid. And this game seems to be taking like a ton of cues from Fusion. Namely, like Dread, its namesake, is so Metroid Fusion has a character called SAX, which is basically like a fully powered Samus lookalike that is chasing you around and can like essentially one-shot kill you for most of the game. And you see them and you immediately like clench up and you have to like run and hide, and it's like these extremely tense sections. But they were
yeah,
super scripted in Metroid Fusion, super scripted, same every time you play them. Whereas they're doing the same thing in Metroid Dread, but this thing is actually hunting you. Like it actually is like it's a
that's hype.
smart like these are open-ended sections where you actually have to like think and not just kind of follow the script, you know? And I am unreasonably excited for it. It also like they've been showing a ton of stuff from Fusion, which I just kind of thought Fusion's not super well liked. So I kind of thought they were just going to throw it under the bus, but they're actually like referencing a ton of lore from Fusion
Yeah.
with the X Parasite and stuff. So I love Fusion. I recommend everybody play it. It's one of the harder Metroid games apparently, but it's a little more linear. It is definitely more linear than Super. And if they can manage to mesh the openness of Super and the horror of Fusion, Dread is going to be one of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah, very excited. I did see some of the gameplay and it looks fantastic.
I only have one beef with it, and that's they a lot of modern Metroid games try to play up a power fantasy with Samus, and I think that is going to clash with the concept of Dread a lot. Like if you go from smashing through every enemy, which was a lot of people's beef with Samus Returns, is that they gave you that bash attack and suddenly like every enemy is kind of a cakewalk.
Uh-huh.
And that doesn't really mix well with like Metroid's actual themes, which are like kind of genocide and being alone on a foreign planet and scared and lost, but being an unstoppable, force of destruction does not really mesh well with those themes. So I'm kind of interested in how they're gonna make that work.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
No, I mean, who are the developers of this game?
It's Nintendo working with Mercury System. It's either Mercury Steam or Mercury System. I forget, but they're the guys who did Samus Returns.
Okay, so they've got a pedigree then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot. Well, they have a pedigree of a fairly controversial Metroid game that didn't sell very well, but I liked it. I like.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the idea, the sentiment I was seeing online, that this game looked hype, but people were concerned about the developer. But I think the gameplay demos at the Treehouse sort of alleviated those concerns from what I've been seeing.
I think it looks really fun. The only thing about the gameplay demo, and I'm gonna like set this aside as being the beginning of the game because I think it was, but it looked really easy to avoid the Emmy, the monster that's chasing you. It looked extremely easy to avoid. Like I wouldn't even be thinking about it. It would just like be natural to avoid it. But I assume it gets harder as the game goes on. I hope.
Yeah.
Especially because they're giving you like an invisibility power up at some point. That seems really overpowered.
Yeah. But this is a game 16 years in the making, right? Which is wild, right? Like this was first rumored in 2005, so I can only imagine the excitement some of the longtime fans felt. Another one of those things, right? Like from our episode last week, the nostalgia that I feel like I missed out on. Like this is one of those things, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta play Metroid, dude. Metroid Fusion is so fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot of returning elements from Metroid Fusion, though, that people are not going to be happy about. Like, Metroid Fusion, I think, was the first Metroid game to introduce, like, large amounts of dialogue. Not from Samus, but your computer talks to you, your computer Adam. And Samus also, like, talks to herself in some elevator sequences and stuff.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, well, like, it's like an inner monologue type thing. I liked it. I think it was good, because it was, like, not other M Samus. Like, this was, kick-ass Samus talking to herself about like just kind of assessing the situation and how she felt about it and how, got to get the mission done. Not like, oh, my feelings for Adam or whatever. Like, not that Samus can't have feelings, she's a complicated character. I just hate Other M. Other M was terrible.
So yeah, Metroid 5. I kind of wish they kept it like Metroid 5 Dread, but it's just Metroid Dread.
So yeah, they've never done a numbered sequel in Metroid outside of the Prime games.
Okay, I didn't know that.
But like the opening for Super Metroid, I think calls it Metroid. Oh no, Metroid 2, Return of Samus. I forgot about that one on the Game Boy. But like not having the number in the official title, but then having it like I think Super Metroid, it Metroid 3 shows up on the screen and then it goes away and it calls itself Super Metroid just like it did in the trailer for this. And Fusion does that as well. It calls itself Metroid 4 in the game and then changes to Fusion.
Yeah.
It's kind of a trope, but I like when I was talking to you guys about this before, how I really like when a game series has been going on for 1 million entries with subtitles, and then they're just suddenly Mario Kart 7.
Yeah. Oh, Nintendo.
Speaking of games with subtitles, we got a new Mario Party.
Okay, so
I
I
have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same thing, Connor. Initially, I was hyped because I was like, yes, online Mario Party, yes, like the classic maps, classic mini games. But then I was like, okay, this game has 5 maps and they're charging $60 for it. And I was like,
these maps aren't new. Like how
yeah, and these are remastered.
I don't want to say
old
lazy
maps.
devs because I don't believe in lazy devs. I believe in low budgets. But how hard is it to make one of these maps?
Why was this not just a DLC for Super Mario Party?
Yeah,
like,
if this was a
like
DLC, it would be really good because that would put you at what, 9 maps, I think, and that's like an acceptable number. But this actually has fewer maps than any of the N64 Mario parties.
Yeah, so
I think it's largely maybe the cost of upsizing all the assets from the original Mario parties. Like these are 20-year-old games.
Well, it would sell. Like Mario Party fans are dubious when it comes to this game, and they wouldn't have been if it looked like they were putting their best foot forward. Like Mario Party games sell pretty well.
I love Mario Party games, dude. Like I'm all about them, but like this one, yeah, like it just leaves me thinking, like, why did you not just make a new Mario Party, or like why didn't you just make this as DLC for the existing Mario Party? Because now it seems like you're pricing this and presenting this as a standalone Mario Party, where it's just like kind of like cobbled together pieces of other Mario Party games.
I got a bit of a hot take here too. I liked the motion control games in Super Mario Party. Like,
dude, all of the mini games in Super Mario Party were fantastic.
Yeah, and there's no motion controls in the new one, like at all. And I get that it's a collection of a lot of past mini games, but that means no mini games from Super Mario Party, and that
like some of the previous Mario Parties, like 9, 10, that era, like those motion control games kind of sucked. I thought in those games, but like in Super Mario Party, they figured it out. I thought, and I thought that like those were great.
The absolute best minigame and probably the best graphics on the Nintendo Switch ever is the steak cube in Super Mario Party.
Oh my god, that steak cube looks so good.
It's the best minigame Mario Party's ever done.
Animation is incredible.
It's so good. It makes me so hungry to look at. Although a lot of Japanese games nail food, but
yeah, Japan nails food. Let's just say that. Like
yeah, that's true. I mean, a lot of Asian cultures nail food. I
mean, like you see like food and like anime and stuff. It always looks so tasty. But
oh my god, in Final Fantasy 15,
yeah,
getting hungry just thinking about it.
Final Fantasy 15 made me crave cup of noodles.
Oh my god, I know. But yes, I don't know. The new Mario Party. If it was a $40 game, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
It would be. It's just kind
steal.
of it's just kind of weird how it's presented. I think Mario Party Superstars is what it's called.
And also, like, I'm glad they're adding online multiplayer on one hand, but on the other hand, that does mean you have to buy 4 copies of Mario Party now. Like,
I mean, yeah. Like, I mean,
just by the nature of the beast.
Here's the thing. Actually, that's interesting. I was of the impression that the online was random, right? Like, so I don't like matchmaking or whatever.
It does have matchmaking, yeah. But I would never play matchmaking Mario Party. Because Mario Party is about destroying friendships. I don't want to play with a stranger.
Yeah. Can we get competitive ladder Mario Party?
Alpha Red Deluxe is going to be doing competitive Mario Party.
Oh god.
But yes, so Mario Party Superstars, Mario Golf looked great. On the other hand,
I am so torn on that game because I find golf so boring.
The game looks so fun, dude.
The game is just so polished. Like they're really, they're scamming me, right? Like there's no way that I actually like this game. But on the other hand, it looks really fun.
It looks super fun. I especially think once you have like a bunch of friends together playing that game, I think it's gonna be a good time.
Like battle golf, what even is that? And a map. They have New Donk City in it for some reason. Like What's going on in
and
this game?
Pauline, is that her
Yeah,
name?
Pauline, and she
Pauline's in it?
uses her microphone as a golf
Yes,
club.
microphone stand. Yeah, that was funny.
Just the best.
Yeah, I think it looks fantastic. New WarioWare game
Yeah, that looks
announced
really
after
fun.
what seems like forever. How long
It
ago
looks
was the
really
previous
fun,
one?
but when they charge $60 for it, I'm gonna be upset.
They're going to,
Yeah.
but like it looks like fun, and WarioWare has been absent for so long, and
Yeah.
I just hope Wario doesn't talk as much as he did in that
Yeah,
trailer.
I've never heard Charles Martinet's voice that much.
Yeah, it just made me think like if Mario talked like this, it would kill the entire Mario vibe
Oh
completely.
my god, the franchise would die immediately.
Yeah,
That would be
I
the
was
end.
like, yeah, don't ever make Mario talk, please. Other than
Yeah.
like one word every now and then. That's fine.
Yeah.
But-
He can only say Wahoo.
Yeah, exactly.
Nah,
But
it
yeah.
was weird, but it looks like a fun game. I mean, I like WarioWare. Every time I see Wario and it's not Wario Land, I'm a little sad. I love Wario Land games, but
Yeah. But like Wario has been like out of the spotlight for so long now. I think it's just kind of cool having him back.
yeah, I agree.
And then we got like a bunch of announcements of like re-releases and a couple remakes. I know Advanced
Yeah.
Wars 1 and 2 were huge.
Advance Wars. I played Wargroove, which is like a spiritual successor to Advance Wars, and I
Yeah.
really liked it. And it made me want to play Advance Wars, but I really hate this art style.
Yeah,
really.
I just watching it, like I know Advanced Wars means a lot to people, but personally I don't have any connection to it. But like looking at the art style, I was like, this looks so weirdly generic, and I don't think
Yeah.
the original game looked like that.
No, the originals had like really beautiful pixel art for their units and stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought the actual units like on the map screen, I thought that all looked great. It was like when it actually zooms in and shows the combat that it looks bad. But
Yeah.
the games will be good, like especially if it's a value title, you know.
Yeah,
I'm surprised Nintendo remembered that Advanced Wars.
Yeah,
See,
did you know Advance Wars was actually a sequel to I think it was called GB Wars on the Game Boy, but I don't think that ever came west.
did not know that.
They have just kind of buried it. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm surprised they remembered the series.
No,
Yeah.
I'm convinced Nintendo remembers everything. It's just they're very selective about what they bring forward, much like Disney.
But they
Speaking
brought
of
back a
remembered
lot.
series,
They brought
we got a new
back
SMT.
a lot of things in this direct. I mean, bringing back Metroid.
Yeah,
What
Shin Megami Tensei 5 was shown, and I know SMT has a big following. I personally am all about Persona. I know Persona's kind of like a spin-off of SMT, but like I don't really care about SMT.
Yeah, no, I said it to you guys in the chat that like as this I've been excited for Shin Megami Tensei until I saw this trailer, and now I'm probably not going to buy it because it just looks like Persona. If you
It's
took
Persona
out
without the social
Yeah.
elements. It's
no
just the
charm,
monsters and
zero
stuff.
charm,
Yeah,
like
so
because the reason the monsters are fun in Persona is because they all mean something. Like they're all, all the palaces, everything, it all means something. I don't know. There's like a
it
personal
means
touch.
something
There's
emotionally or socially, like each one does, right? Like each
and
one
then
has
Shin
a
Megami
connection to the
Tensei,
world.
it's just
Yeah.
a weird Ikusai demon thing, and I'm like, oh, this is really stupid and boring, and I don't care anymore.
Yeah, that one's not for me. I'm sure it'll have, its fans, dedicated fans, but
Yeah.
they announced, I guess this is what we'll call the anime section, right? They announced like the entire collection of Danganronpa games on Switch,
Yeah.
and those are kind of really neat visual novels from what I hear, and I've always wanted to check them out. And so this will be a good
Yeah.
opportunity.
They're an acquired taste, I would say. The Game Grumps started playing Danganronpa, and I just kind of watched them whenever they put out a new video. So I ended up experiencing the entire first game, and by the end of it, I was invested. But for the first like 40 episodes or something, I was like, "Well, this is kind of boring and terrible."
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
it's very slow, but that's also the games are not made to be consumed in 30-minute portions. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on that one. I'll see. But
the writing's
Connor,
very genuine.
what did you think of the new Monster Hunter game that they showed?
I don't like them. I don't like Monster Hunter stories.
So what's different? Explain to me, because I don't really know.
It's mainly it's turn-based combat. It's a more traditional RPG
Oh,
set
okay.
in the Monster Hunter world, which is fine. But for one thing, the word "monsty" is really stupid. That's like the monster you ride around, and like that's the best they could come up with. Monsty.
Yeah.
Like I get it's probably a translation thing, but it's really bad. And also, I don't know. Like the reason I like Monster Hunter is that it's basically Dark Souls style combat, but it's just boss fights all the time, and it's way easier than Dark Souls.
Yeah.
But, it just isn't anything that I like about Monster Hunter. I like the world and stuff. I think it's interesting.
It looked pretty.
Yeah, I love the art style. I think it's a way better art style for the Nintendo Switch than Monster Hunter Rise. I don't think Monster Hunter Rise looks very good.
So yeah, it bears mentioning that this Monster Hunter Stories game, and literally I think every other game we've mentioned so far in this Nintendo conference is all coming out this year, which is I think really huge for Nintendo. There's only one game that they announced or showed that is coming tentatively in 2022, and by God, I hope it comes in 2022.
Yeah, we got a new trailer. I want to do my pitch. We got a new trailer for the sequel to Breath of the Wild,
which is, like hands down the best thing I've seen at E3 this year, like instantly.
And it's a really short trailer,
it was
but it
30
shows
seconds
a
long,
lot.
but each of those seconds was precious to me. Like that trailer was a roller coaster, despite how short it was. But I think it bears mentioning, and Connor, you can give your Galaxy Brain level pitch here soon, but I was going to say Eiji Aonuma came out on, on screen, and he was like, today it's Zelda's anniversary. I was like, okay, this is where we get the Zelda collection announcement consisting of Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess. But no, he announces a Zelda-themed Game & Watch with Zelda 1, 2, and like some weird puzzle game on it. I was like, what?
No, it also has Link's Awakening on it.
Oh, it has Link's Awakening. Okay, so that's
but not the director's
cut
of Link's Awakening. It's the black and white Game Boy version, which is a really weird choice.
So I'm almost convinced that this Zelda collection was, and it existed at some point, and then Nintendo was just like, nah, let's just split it up into individual remastered games and sell them for $60 each. I'm almost 100% sure that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to think that later this year, like after Skyward Sword comes out, they're going to announce a Twilight Princess HD port to the Switch.
Oh,
and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I think they're not going to want to do that until closer. They don't want to cannibalize the sales on Skyward Sword. I think it'll release early next year.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So they did talk about the Skyward Sword remaster a bit, and of course we know that's coming pretty soon. But like, what's interesting is after seeing the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, I kind of think there's an additional reason for them picking Skyward Sword to be remastered now, and it seems like the games might be connected in some way.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty clear that they are. You definitely they added floating islands, and there's lore. There's like those floating islands could have already been there in Breath of the Wild 1, and you wouldn't have seen them. And there are lore reasons for that explained in Skyward Sword, and I think that's going to matter. But
I will just say, like, really quick, Connor, the way they opened that trailer, where it was all dark and it showed flashes of Ganon and flashes of Zelda, and then just total black, and then suddenly this bright light erupts, and you see Link like falling from the sky. It was
makes
just
your heart drop.
Beautifully done. It was so good. But go ahead.
And Link has on this like Kid Icarus looking outfit, like,
and his hair's all long, and it's just like, what is happening? Like,
yeah. So. And I've seen a couple other theories that like it's involving time travel and stuff. And
you see, I think that is the case because there's two different Links that we see in this trailer. We see the Link from the first game, and then we see this longer-haired Link, and it's just like, what is happening?
Yeah. So I'm wondering if those were just recorded at different times in development, though. That's also a possibility.
It could be, but
because when we see short-hair Link, he's standing in places that are familiar to us.
I want to believe, though, that this everything in this trailer was deliberately placed. Yeah,
me too.
I kind of feel like it was.
If everything in this trailer is extremely deliberate and trying to send a message, then I think I'm picking that message up. And I think that not only are we going to be visiting the skies of Skyloft again, but I think we're also going to revisit Twilight in this game because. I don't know. They're talking about how dark of a game it's going to be. The last dark game that they did was Twilight Princess. And they linger on the castle at Twilight, like the time of day Twilight, for a really long time.
An unusually long time. I thought we were going to see the title come up.
I've heard that a few times. And they're just lingering on it at Twilight. And there's just like a somber atmosphere to it. And I don't think they're just bringing back Twilight and... because Twilight Princess is a somewhat divisive game. I think they're because they already did this in Breath of the Wild 1. There are a lot of locations from previous Zelda
Yes.
games. And so my theory is that where Breath of the Wild 1 was you going through and collecting this Link's memories, I think in this game there's going to be a part of it. I don't think it'll be the core part, because I think they're going to do dungeons again. That was like the main complaint. I think dungeons are going to make a comeback. And there's actually a monster in the trailer that looks a lot like one of the entrances to a dungeon in the first Legend of Zelda. But my theory is that you're going to be going around Hyrule and visiting locations from previous Zelda games, like Lurelin, which is an exact copy of Outside Island. There's the Eventide Island, which is the island from Link's Awakening. You can get to Skyloft now. I think you're going to visit the Twilight and maybe even see Binda, because I think she's immortal or whatever. And you're going to be collecting memories of previous Links and kind of putting them all together to become strong enough to kill Ganondorf once and for all.
This theory is ridiculously bold, and like
it is, and that's the only reason I would bother to record it, because it's probably wrong. But if I'm right,
though, yeah, that would be. I would be speechless if you were right. Yeah. But like Nintendo, like is very careful about, like they try to separate Zelda out as much as possible, right? Like they did say there was like a timeline or whatever, and like I'm sure there is, but like I think for all intents and purposes, they want Zelda games to be separated, right? Unless they are explicitly connected, like Ocarina of Time.
It would be a definite change in the way that they do Zelda, because like the way I always like to think of Zeldas, unless they're direct sequels, is that it's the same story being told different ways. Essentially, it's one. There was one Link and one Ganondorf, and they fought. And it's just different ways of telling that story.
I mean, it's the legend of Zelda, and legends can be interpreted and, change over time and all that sort of thing.
And I think that's a way better interpretation of the whole thing than the stupid triple timeline break.
I like the time. Well, the timeline's now back to. Hold on, I'm going deep here. The timeline with Breath of the Wild is actually a convolution of all
it's timelines. Like it is, because it references it has the Rito, it has references to stuff from Wind Waker as well as Twilight Princess.
Like Ganon charged like a spirit bomb of all his other Ganons to create the ultimate Ganon.
Well, that's like another reason I think I'm right, is that it's like a convergence of all the different timelines, and you have to like converge all the different links into one.
That would be wild, man. Yeah. I'm telling you what, that would be.
It may be a terrible, I need to call MatPat, but it's a bad fan theory. But
there is a reason why they're not giving us the subtitle.
Yeah,
well, that's an interesting
I saw a
thing
theory that kind of makes sense to me, which is that the title has Demise in it, and they want people to play Skyward Sword before. Because the way they're depicting Ganondorf does kind of look like Demise.
I mean, the way they're depicting Ganondorf is so weird. It's like he is dead, and it's his ghost. It's so cool. Gosh,
it's very good. That's very upsetting. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and no, like they came out and said like we're not revealing the title yet because it has implications for what the game's going to be about, and it's like, oh my god, I just want to know.
So the theory I saw on Reddit was that it's Demise is in the title, and they want people to meet Demise in Skyward Sword before meeting him in Breath of the Wild 2, which would also explain why.
I don't know why
Skyloft is back. Why. Yeah.
Going in, like Zelda games, their titles are. I think titles are some of the coolest part of the Zelda games. Like I love the Zelda titles.
A lot of them feel really lazy. Like Ocarina of Time is just an item in the game.
But that's what I like about it. Like it's not like the Zelda titles are always just items, right? Except for Breath of the Wild.
Princess.
Well, yeah. Well, okay, they're referencing things in the game.
Yeah, okay.
They're referencing things in the game.
That's how you make a title, though.
But like Breath of the Wild was just sort of more abstract, is where I'm going with this.
I like Breath of the Wild as a title.
So I thought this title would also be sort of abstract, like maybe like, something of the skies or something like that, right? But like, I don't think we're gonna get that. We're going to get a more concrete Zelda title this time again.
Yeah, people are joking a lot about it just being called A Link to the Past.
I mean, that's kind of what it seems like it is, like in a literal sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh my god, that just like, and I said afterwards, like that was fantastic, but like I needed more. Like I feel like I was starving man, and Aonuma threw me a morsel of food, and I consumed it and it made me happy, but in the end, it just made me hungrier.
Yeah,
Like-
they really reopened the wound from 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Like I have
just
watched
need
this
to see
entire
more.
direct more than one time. I've watched it like 4 or 5 times
The
probably.
entire direct, that's wild. I've definitely watched the Breath of the Wild trailer like multiple times, but
I've watched the Metroid Dread trailer more than Breath of the Wild. I think I might be probably just because it's healthier for me because the game's actually coming soon. I have an actual date.
yeah,
I am more excited for Metroid Dread right now than Breath of the Wild too.
that makes sense. And you know, like they said at the end, we're targeting 2022, which
Yep. Scary.
wow, yeah,
Which,
like
if it's as ambitious as I think it is, there's a good chance they miss it.
yeah, I mean, like it's it's funny. Initially, we're like, okay, this game's gonna have a quick turnaround cycle because it's reusing all the assets from Breath of the Wild. And I think at some point in development that was true, but I do think this game sort of exploded in scope and is now something else entirely. Like I think
that maybe they realized that
Breath of the
what
Wild
people
is
liked
there,
so much
but
about Breath
yeah.
of the Wild was like finding these familiar places and seeing how they're different,
yeah.
and setting it in the same Hyrule again was just a non-option.
Yeah, no, I think you can go to that Hyrule, right? But like I do think the game's I think there's so much about this game that we don't know that'll completely change the way we see this game, honestly. Like they're still holding so much back, and that's really exciting.
Yeah. It also
Yeah.
like they talked about Breath of the Wild having a bigger focus on story, and that ended up not
No,
really
yeah.
being true. I think this one does. Like there's a lot going on in these trailers. There's already more story to this game than there was to Breath of the Wild, essentially.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it's funny because like Breath of the Wild promised this amazing story, and then they put out that insane trailer, but that trailer ended up being like the entire story, pretty much. Yeah, but you know, like even if it doesn't have a story focus, it's still going to be absolute brilliance. Like,
oh yeah.
it's just going to be fantastic, and I'm so excited.
No,
for
I mean
it.
just having new Sheikah Slate powers, which they clearly are doing.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
we
it's
saw
not
a
a
couple
Sheikah
of them, right? Like with the
rolling that
the
ball
rock,
up the hill. Yeah.
and then like the weirdest one to me was like when Link got like sucked up the mountain, and, like went through the rock and like pulled himself
Yeah,
out, like
that
he
was
was
so
climbing
weird,
out of
yeah.
a pool of water.
That
like,
seems
what?
really situational. That seems like a really like I don't think that's a Sheikah Slate ability. That seems more like a how he gets up to the sky ability because that would
Yeah.
be so weirdly situational. I feel like against like
it's
the
just-
super broad applicability of all the others.
Yeah, it's just I just love the creativity on display in these games. It's like not something the fans could ever come up with, but like it's just
No.
incredible. You know, they're so
No,
creative.
it's true. I mean, there's a reason there's not any one famous Zelda fan game. Like it's just too much.
Yeah, they've got a special sauce over there for sure. But I think in the broad strokes, at least, that pretty much covers E3 2021. Now, I do want to mention one thing, and that is Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest trailer presentation thing that was happening right before E3, right? Which actually showed the overall game that I am most excited for. And I think I can say that. Right now, I'm more excited
Really?
for Elden Ring than I am for the Zelda sequel. And I think once, we get closer to the Zelda sequel, obviously that might change, but my goodness, they finally showed Elden Ring after withholding it from us for 2 years. From Software,
Yeah.
Hidetaka Miyazaki's newest masterpiece. And it just looks so good.
It looks like it
might.
might be doing a very Breath of the Wild open world.
Like
too.
it definitely took inspiration from Breath of the Wild. It's still going to have that like godlike Souls level design coupled with like open world elements from Breath of the Wild. I'm just like, good God, give
Yeah,
this game to me now. Like
It'll be a day one buy for me for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm really glad they're breaking off of numbered sequels too, because I played the 3 Dark Souls games in order, and like
yeah.
the
I
whole
saw
time
some
I'm playing-
people complaining online saying like, oh, this is just Dark Souls 4. I was like, first of all, no, but like
Cool.
even if it was, like, yes, give me Dark Souls 4.
you know,
Like
put it in my veins. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, everything about this game, like just from the first of all, just the atmosphere. Like no one can do atmosphere like From Software. Absolutely no one.
No.
Like, and that they completely conveyed that through this trailer. Like you instantly look at this game and know it's a From Software game. Like the the world tree or whatever it was, like Yggdrasil. Like I think they're calling it something else, but like it looked so weird and mysterious and like those bosses, man, like those bosses they were showing, like so weirdly unsettling and demonic, and like, oh my gosh, I just want this world to like grind me into dust like it's going to. But yeah, like, and in the and some of the like interviews that came out and stuff, like they've definitely taken bits and pieces from like various From Software games. Like it has the verticality of Sekiro, like you can like jump and like do all sorts of vertical combat as well, and like obviously it takes a lot from Dark Souls in terms of like its core combat. And you know, like I saw a couple areas that really evoked Bloodborne too. Like it was just like this might be Hidetaka Miyazaki's magnum opus, which is saying a lot considering what he's done. So
I also heard him say that fast travel's in it, but they encourage you not to use it, I guess.
Right, yes.
Which I think is an okay... If fast travel's in it, but I don't need it, I think that kind of does it for me.
And he also
penalized
confirmed
at all for using it.
So yeah, he also, you know, like he mentioned, you know, how like George R.R. Martin was involved in like the lore for this game. He did mention that George R.R. Martin set the foundation, right? And then From Software iterated on that foundation with like their traditional like storytelling techniques and stuff like that. So he said like for people that are worried like this is going to be a more direct story, and he said like it's the same storytelling style as like the Souls games. Like it's going to be very mysterious and obscure, and you're going to have to like dig to figure out what's going on, and it's just going to be it's going to be great. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, but that's exactly what I wanted to hear.
The main plot line would be a little more obvious. They said they like learned from Sekiro, I think.
Yeah, Sekiro had like it didn't have like that traditional From Software storytelling at all. I do think like the George R.R. Martin parts I think are going to be like more traditionally told, but like he told fans to be rest assured in that like the From Software style of like lore and stuff was still in the game. So that's fantastic to hear.
They can't put Vati Vidya out of business.
Dude, he's already put 2 videos out on Elden Ring. Yeah.
I've seen him.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Zeltic to be back in business too. He's the Zelda lore guy.
I gotta check him out. I don't think I've ever seen his videos.
He does pretty good work. It's basically Vati Vidya, but for Zelda, and like
I could get into that.
There's a lot less to pick at in Zelda.
Dude, there's so Dark Souls. I'm just gonna say Dark Souls to encompass all of From Software's games, but like those games have so much lore. Like I feel like there's a reason that multiple people have made like entire careers out of just lore videos for those games. Like,
yeah, obviously
Vati's the most known one, but like a lot of people do it. And what I love about the lore in those games too is that it's just much like we were talking about with Zelda, the Legend of Zelda. A lot of the lore in these games, some of it is straight up false. Like a lot of it took place like thousands of years ago, and like no one knows what really happened. So you have to like pick up on clues and piece it together yourself, and it just makes for a good time. It's great.
Yeah, it's good video games.
But
they do the same thing in Hollow Knight a little bit. I think Hollow Knight actually does that style of storytelling pretty well as well.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, a lot of environmental storytelling too. And I think Elden Ring overall was, even though it wasn't part of E3 proper, it was the game that most got me hyped. Like I know, like we mentioned last time, I doubted Elden Ring would show up, and actually Mike called the fact that it would be present, and he was totally right. Like I could not believe that. Like I saw
it wasn't present at E3, so
it wasn't present at E3, but they showed it like now, which I was not expecting. And it's coming in January of 2022, which I hope that release date holds. Yeah, but like, yeah, that is going to be one of those games where if that comes out on a Friday, I'm taking that Friday off, like straight up.
So if that's your biggest, game of E3, mine's going to be Metroid Dread. What was yours, Mike?
For me, I can't really say.
Age of Empires.
Age of Empires is big, but we knew that was coming. I didn't really have any surprises. Maybe Starfield.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a surprise. Just the game, I guess, you're most excited to play.
I mean, I'm excited to play Battlefield, but
Yeah.
Again, that's pretty normal for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Battlefield, I think out of everything shown at that show, Battlefield is the one that most people are interested in. It got the most trailer views, so.
Yeah,
Oh, this
Battlefield is
hype-
definitely up there.
dang good.
All right, so that's E3 2021. I'm excited to do this in 2022, hopefully with a healthy dose of live action cringe.
Yeah, we'll be there in person next year with our press passes that Jeff Keighley just personally delivered to me.
Hey, if Jeff Keighley shows up on my doorstep with a press pass for his conference, I'll go.
Jeff Keighley's a good guy. I like him.
Yes.
All right.
I'll
do we
start
even
the
wanna
Twitter
do games we've been
campaign
playing?
now.
We've been going a long time.
I haven't really played any games.
I have one I kind of want to talk about.
Okay. Yeah, you go first then.
So I've been playing Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Oh, right. Yeah. Of course you have. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm actually, so I think I'm over halfway through this game. I'm really just taking my time and savoring it. I'm just sort of in awe that this is what an early gen PS5 game looks like. Like, Insomniac really just knocked it out of the park in all respects, but especially visually. Like, I cannot believe it feels like I'm playing like a modern Pixar movie. Like, it just looks so incredibly good. And like the environments themselves, like all the different planets, like I've been to like over half a dozen different planets and they're all completely different and all of their unique landscapes and art styles and stuff. And it's just like Insomniac are kind of just wizards. Like, and I was watching an interview where they said, yeah, like a lot of the development for this game took place over COVID. And like the guy said, yeah, I don't think a single line of dialogue for this game was actually recorded in person. All of the voice work was done during COVID. It's just like, dude, like how did they put a game out of like this caliber in COVID times? Like, it's just obscene. Like, but yeah, talking about the actual game itself, like it feels so okay. So it's Ratchet and Clank gameplay, but refined and improved, right? So they've added like a dodge button, and they've added like really nifty like hover boots that like Shadow the Hedgehog style. You can like zip around the environment, and like you've got your grappling hook too. And it's just like
That's not new. I don't think.
the grappling hook might not be, but I think the hover boots are, right?
No,
They are
the
not
hover
either.
boots. The hover boots were in Ratchet and Clank on PS3, I think.
Yeah, they were in what was it, Kraken Time?
Okay, so I might have missed
Yeah.
that. But the big highlight in this game though has to be the rifts, right? So the rifts
yeah.
that really show off the SSD, and let me tell you, it's improved from what they showed at like when they first showed the game off, which is saying something, right? Like now it's completely seamless. Like there's no like weird like if you watch the trailer, there's like a weird transition where you can clearly see like the environment loading in, and it only lasts for like a split second. That's totally gone now. So it's just like you walk through a rift, boom, there's the other world. So they play with this idea a lot in a lot of cool different
they
ways.
took out that part where you're like free falling.
So that specific part is in the game, but there are most of the other rifts in the game, you just walk through them and you're in the other place.
Okay,
So-
that's so much more impressive because I was sitting there thinking like, yeah, it's cool, but it's still just a hallway while they
Yeah,
load
no.
stuff in, right? Like,
Yeah,
I didn't think
no.
I was not impressed when they showed that off. Not really, but if they
Yeah.
can actually totally remove that, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's completely gone, dude. A rift appears, you walk through it, environment's there. Like there's
That's so good.
not even 0.1 seconds of loading. It's unreal, honestly. And like they make use of this mechanic in such interesting ways. Like, and from the combat where like when you're fighting, you see these rifts pop up everywhere, and you can use your rift tether to not grapple yourself to the rift, but grapple the world to yourself. Right? So like you pull the entire level towards yourself, and then you're fighting there, and that's really cool. But like a couple of the really cool like level design things they've done, the planet called Blizar Prime, you get there and it's like completely destroyed, and so it's like a destroyed level in outer space. So there's like low gravity and stuff, and like it's hard to get around the environment because it's like completely destroyed. But there are these phase crystals around, right? And when you hit the phase crystal, it takes you to an alternate dimension where Blizar Prime was not destroyed and is like completely thriving and is like very lively and stuff. And it's instantaneous, right? So you hit the crystal, boom. It's like everything's restored. And it's just like it feels like magic. It really does. Like it's hard to describe without you seeing it, but like these sorts of things would not be possible on a previous generation console. Like this is truly like it feels like one of the first truly next gen experiences, in my opinion. And yeah, Blazar Prime's a great example of like the instant level switching that is now possible with this thing. And they have a few other things I don't really want to say in case either of you play this game, because I do think it's worth playing. But they make great use of the rifts throughout this game, it really showing off that SSD stuff. But I will say one of the stars of this game is Rivet, right? So the female Lombax that was introduced, you play as her, at least, you know, as far as I am in the game, I've played as Rivet more than Ratchet, like, and she's like instantly a star. Like, I feel like they could easily make a Rivet game after this and it would sell just as well. Like, Rivet's great. She's a great character. She's very funny. In like a dry sort of way. She like, you know, is very sarcastic and stuff like that. And yeah, like I think this whole thing they have going on with the dual protagonists is really cool. The only criticism I have, I think, is that Rivet and Ratchet play exactly the same. There are no differences between them at all. Like even if Ratchet gets an upgrade, Rivet gets the same upgrade, which is kind of a little. I would have liked to see like some differences between the two, but like it's not too big of a deal because the game is just such a joy to play. Like the combat is so fluid, especially at that 60 FPS ray trace mode. Like it's so fluid and it looks that good and crisp, and like it's just unbelievable what they've pulled off with this game visually. Like I keep saying it, it's just that stunning. It really is. So I'm having a great time with this game. I'm really taking my time with it because I don't want to beat it, but like it's not a very long game from what I hear, so I'm gonna have to get it done eventually. But for now, I'm very, very much enjoying myself and very, very much feeling like next gen is finally here with this game. Like it really is something you have to see to believe, I think. So yeah, either of you have anything?
I've been playing Minecraft, so not really.
Okay, still playing on your server. I still gotta check that out.
It's a beefy mod pack. It's a big one.
I don't have much to say. I started XCOM 2 and I really like it, but I'm really bad at it. I'm playing on the easiest difficulty, and I just there's like this event where you can like get caught by a UFO and you have to like fight a bunch of aliens, and I had like somewhere between 7 and 15 soldiers going into it, and I only had 3 left at the end. I lost all of them.
Oh man.
You see, my only thing I do in XCOM is mod the crap out of it and then make custom soldiers like Chad Chaddington, the ultimate Chad.
Yeah, I wanted to do custom soldiers, but I knew that like I would spend more time making them than I would actually have them, and I knew because I only have one soldier that I'm like super attached to, and he's my marksman, and I don't even know his name. I just know what he looks like. He's this black guy with really cool hair, and I think he's God, he wears a flag. I think it's from South America. Anyways, really cool, and he never misses a shot, and I love him to death. And he's my hero. He was one of the 3 that lived. He actually didn't take any damage in that fight because he never really left the opening area. He was picking off people the whole time, really putting in work.
I think in my current playthrough, one of my characters is a Bionicle.
Oh wow. Yeah, I'm staring down the barrel of a game over though. I think like I only have 3 soldiers right now, and that's not. You can't do much with that. Like you're supposed to have enough soldiers that like they can get injured and like take some time off, and you can rotate out. I really don't see myself beating this game, and I think if you hit that game over, I think you have to start over, which doesn't really bother me that much because I've learned so much in playing it. But I'm really bad at it. I'm really bad at like playing the wrong objective too. Like I started a mission where I was supposed to rescue a VIP, and I actually killed all the aliens without losing a single soldier or even taking meaningful damage. But I didn't realize that the VIP was in a truck, which it didn't tell you that before the mission, but once you got in the mission, it said that in the top left corner, and I didn't see it, and I did blow up the truck on accident. Yeah, so stuff like that. Little annoying. I really like the actual like in-game actual combat sections, the out of game like menu part where you're like flying around the planet and like doing supplies and stuff, I don't, it's not that I don't want that to be there, but there are long portions of the game where you don't get to play the fun part of the game, and that doesn't sit right with me. So, but I like it overall. I think it's really fun. I started playing it to see if I wanted to buy Mario and Rabbids, and at the end of the day, I think the answer is no. I kind of like XCOM. I don't know if I want to play a simpler version of it, though. So, it's pretty fun, though.
Awesome. All right, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you guys for listening. You can follow us at Podcast Game Talk on Twitter. Please like, rate, and review us on any podcast service you use. And click the link in the description of this podcast to join our Discord and talk to us there. Thank you, Connor and Mike.
Yep. See you guys next week.
See you next week.